It's time.
Coach's corner, bud.
Coaches.
What do you want the coach's corner walk-up music to be?
Ooh.
Whatever you feel best about, I'm fine with.
I mean, I feel like if you want to go
It's
back
going
to
to make me physically ill.
I feel like if you go back to like 2013, Although the Lights is the common theme song for every single thing that you could ever have.
What about Rudy?
Rudy?
Yeah.
Nice. That'd be good.
Rudiger.
I mean, we could just play the speech from Any Given Sunday every single time right before.
It's just amazing speech.
Yeah.
So, like baseball, we've got walk-up music. If you could choose in football, would you have been individually announced each game with your own?
Certainly not.
Okay, I'm just curious.
No.
Talking about walkout music, I saw a sick video of Debo and the 49ers. They have one of their strength coaches with a boombox that's like the size of me essentially on his shoulder, and Debo and who was their left tackle? Is it Trent Williams? Yeah,
Yep.
Are leading the entire team out and just going ape. Like you got Jimmy G like 6 rows back.
See, that would be
kind of halfway dancing, but they've got a long walk from most NFL locker rooms. I think
Right.
so they did it home and away games, and it was pretty cool. So,
But like that's like a team entrance type of thing.
yeah, absolutely.
So do you have a song that you would pick for like team entrance?
So I think, I mean, for me, we had a team entrance song when we did like introductions and stuff at UNI.
Okay.
So we had our
You guys had a lot of wrestlers have walkout music.
yeah. So we had walkout music for our individual matches and stuff like that. But then we also like for starting lineups, we had music playing in the background, and it was "God's Gonna Cut You Down," Johnny Cash.
We
Nice.
had a lot of
It
cowbells
would be country music.
and a few claps.
Yeah.
And I can actually I appreciate that, but that's just.
But then
funny.
like,
It wasn't what I was expecting you to say.
but you have
Wrestlers are different though. too.
They're
Like-
but you have
the wrestlers and hockey players. We talked about that before.
Yeah.
you have everything
Different.
up from. I mean, I think Mac Miller was huge when I was in high school, and I wore Nike wrestling shoes, and so I walked out to Nikes on my feet.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Mac
Nice.
Miller's song.
Yeah.
And then you got another guy walking out to Won't Back Down by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
I love that.
And then you got another guy walking out to Shakira, Hips Don't Lie.
Let's go. Coach's
fan.
corner.
Big fan of the last one.
At this point, probably every NFL team has obviously arrived.
The week 0 guys are in camp. Like I saw some stuff on Twitter
The
from
rest
New
of
Mexico
camp probably
State.
this weekend or very close to it.
Yeah,
probably.
most of your Division I schools are going to be reported by the end of this week. And I would say probably most of your Division II or Division III are within a week of that as well.
Absolutely.
Just depending on when their first game is. Some of those smaller leagues, the Division II, Division III, will have a little bit later start to their schedule because they only play a 9 or a 10 game schedule. So that would be a little bit different.
So a lot of high schools this is their first week too. I've seen like first, second days of everybody.
High school football starts earlier and earlier every year. So yeah, the high schools are absolutely in full swing right now, especially in the metro. I know down south they are as well.
So camps now in college, what are the rules and regs just around like practice times, how you can practice and things like that? It might have changed for this year because you're out of it and we always get the rule book, but from what you know.
From what I know, there's only one practice a day. You can couple that with a walkthrough. There has to be, I believe it's a 4-hour window between the end of practice and the beginning of that walkthrough. And I think 3 of that has to be like legitimate downtime. So like they can't have any film meetings, stuff like that. They can't have treatments, things of that nature in there. So you try to squeeze as much recovery into that window as you can. And then you get into meetings, and usually we would meet and then walk through. So you'd have the opportunity to go over the corrections on film or the installation on film, and then you would have the opportunity to go out on the field and do it. So we've utilized multiple walkthroughs in a day. So the NCAA, when they went to no two-a-days, their coaches called everything a walkthrough, and walkthroughs were not necessarily always walkthroughs. And so the NCAA got wise to that and started defining what a walkthrough is. And so I'm not clear anymore on
no pads though, right?
No pads, no helmets, nothing like that. And there's supposed to be a certain tempo that you abide by. The challenging thing is when you line guys up across from one another, there's always going to be a competitive tempo to it, and so that was always the hard thing to work through, was how guys interacted with one another, especially once you got into week 3, week 4 of camp, and you're going against the same guys every single day.
Because we're not talking walk through pregame or night before,
where you're legitimately
like Friday night
walk through in flip-flops.
We're talking camp walkthrough when guys are still trying to earn spots.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, guys are competing, guys are trying to demonstrate their value, and so it's very direct, very chippy.
So me having limited college football camp walkthrough knowledge is,
he said knowledge
I said limited
knowledge,
but
of camp walkthrough knowledge.
Regardless,
I digress.
7-on-7 stuff. Technically, I don't have helmet, pads, any of that stuff. Is that involved in a lot of walkthroughs, or is that now too high of tempo?
You're going too fast.
The tempo is too high. It's too there. It's the way that they define it is non-competitive. Is the way. So
That's
like
a good word.
It went back and forth throughout my time as to whether you could or couldn't use a ball during walkthroughs. I think last year we could use a ball, and so that became an interesting discussion as to how you
way better than a brick
people from.
Or we did it on air. Our fifth year, like just an air ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hell, are you supposed to do with that?
That's 100%.
If I was a wide receiver, if I'm a wide receiver or like a tight end,
we're running read options and reverses.
How much trouble do I get in for dropping that? Air ball. Like so you throw that and I drop the air ball.
That's one of the
and
things
make it
is so like receivers are running half speed routes, and then we're telling the DBs not to compete for the ball, and we're telling the receivers they should catch everything when they're not running full speed. They're not going at a tempo that they would, and so like it becomes lackluster at times. It becomes unimpressive to watch. And so it can, like, from a coaching perspective, it's frustrating for me, right? Like we're running inside zone and
there's nothing going on.
It's brutal because like the D tackle doesn't want to give ground. You know what I mean? Like if he just gets walked off the ball 5 yards back, it's not going to reflect well on him if we gash him in a walkthrough. So there's a little bit of competition there. And then that guy starts to push harder than the double team starts to push low.
And then it just snowballs.
Right, but doesn't this go
I
back
guess that makes me think of diminishing returns at that point.
Correct, and that's why that's a perfect point, Ryan, because I think it goes back to what Steve said about you have your practice in the morning, you have your film review, and then you use your walkthrough as a correction period. And I think that's the only way you can effectively use it, in that this is what we saw on film. I've got an offensive section of which I am going to do, let's call it 30 minutes of offensive correction. And like, this is what we saw. We saw these 5 things or these 3 things that we're really going to work on. And then I'm going to flip and I'm going to say defensive correction period. Yep. Depending on if you want to use scout teams or not, but like
that's almost identical to what we would do. I think we would each pick 15 or 20 plays that we wanted to go through from the script at the morning practice. We would have a walkthrough prior to that was special teams and installation focused. Mm-hmm. That one to me was most beneficial because positionally you could point things out, you could stop, you could slow down. When you're going good versus good, there's an expectation of tempo and things like that. You know, it's not like, let's stop the whole thing, repeat a play, do those types of things. Like that was doable, but it wasn't the preference.
Because I think that's the easiest way. Like, I think the non-competitive thing is a good definition for the NCAA, but I feel like if the NCAA just said like, you can't go good versus good, you would stop a lot of in some ways, because like the scout team guys, be it what they may, are used to being used.
Yeah.
They're pawns. And so like if your offense is using your scout team guys like you're supposed to, I mean, we've all been on both sides of it. Like
there are some rules surrounding the idea of like during those acclimatization days now that you can't have like offense versus defense lined up. It's all got to be technical work and things like that.
How many days is that now?
It's still technically a 5-day acclimatization, I believe, where you've got to have, I think, 2 helmets only days and then 2 helmets and shoulder pads. One of those helmets and shoulder pads still has to be
like walkthrough tempo?
It's supposed to be not walkthrough tempo, but it's supposed to be non-competitive. I'm pretty sure.
Which is
So
damn near impossible.
So if you do that where it's a non-competitive, no touch, whatever, and it's just strictly offense, as a line coach, do you emphasize, okay, you're meeting this guy 3 yards off the ball, you need to emphasize to get to that point in that walkthrough?
In the walkthrough, yes, you're trying, but there's an element of what is the tempo, right? We would give them percentages, right? Like this is a 50% walkthrough, or this is 75%, or whatever it might be. It's very hard to play football at an arbitrary tempo. It's generally either you're walking or jogging or you're full speed. Those are the kind of the three tempos in my mind. And getting guys to match that, especially so I look at it from an offensive perspective, but then when I flip and think of it from a defensive perspective, right? Like I think of it from a D-line perspective, right? I don't want to get driven off the ball. So I'm going to exert myself against this force that's being applied to me. From a linebacker perspective, I want to be reactive. I want to train my mind to react quickly. And so I'm not going to jog through a read of a pulling guard, reading him through a backfield on a counter or a power play, right?
Run through it.
You're going to try to run through it, or you're going to try to scrape over the top, whatever your defensive scheme dictates, right? So those types of things are difficult to police at times, and generally you end up just reminding them constantly. That's just.
So how much do you hate walkthroughs?
Oh, I despise them.
Okay.
Absolutely despise them.
I mean, I had to ask because, you just said,
I would take 45 minutes more of practice in favor of
2 hours of walkthrough.
Yeah, I'll take the morning walk, installation, putting fronts, recognition, stuff like that in front of my guys, and then a longer practice, and then give them more downtime in the afternoon, because time off their feet, which for 300+ pound individuals is always beneficial in my mind.
As a player, I would have loved that way more.
Yeah, can you do that? Can you elongate one practice with having part of it being a walkthrough?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I don't remember what the activity window is. In camp, you're essentially unlimited from a countable hours perspective. Right. But I don't remember what the window was for how long we could manipulate their time in a day, or if there was a limitation outside of they needed this amount of downtime between activities.
It's definitely changed. So
certainly. I mean,
I don't know
from our perspective, it's very
from the
different.
outside. I don't know personally for the better per se either. Now, obviously, nutrition and downtime is huge, but you just mentioning the walkthrough that. I'm thinking through camp, and that would just be annoying.
Right, but for your position, that probably not very eye-opening to me, because yes, I think about it from that perspective, and I understand the sloppiness that he gets into. But from a quarterback perspective, especially if I'm looking at corrective moments, to be able to see, oh, this is where that safety walked down to, this is where that linebacker lined up, this is where that 3 technique and the 1 technique were. This is the split of the defensive end. Those are the most insightful moments for me to get a coverage read correct, a run read correct, an audible made that needs to be made, a protection shift that needs to be made, and that's all pre-snap.
Structural stuff it is good for.
So,
you know what I mean?
So I do,
and that makes sense.
Positionally speaking, that is very much.
But that's what I'm talking about from a tempo perspective. In that, that morning walkthrough was great because we would see it would be O versus O. We would self-serve and we would line up in generic stuff in camp. Right. But then as the season spun up, if we had walkthrough time, we could do specific scout work. Yep. We could create looks and stuff like that.
And that's where I think you saying, Cole, could you elongate that practice and still do some of those things? Okay, hey, we're going to run this play full through, but Cole, I want you to see this guy coming down, this guy doing this, whatever it is, just like you talked about. I think adding in maybe 45 minutes where you could show that, and then all of a sudden, okay, let's run the play.
Yeah, and being I think being coordinated on your staff is important in that way. We would have days where it was hey, this is a 3-day, or this is a pressure day, or this is a pressure period, and so you would have some inkling of what was coming or some situation that you were working on. And so you weren't just going into it blind, let's just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. You know? So there's a lot of coordination and time and effort that goes into that side of things that I think maybe as a player you don't even necessarily appreciate. You just get told, oh, this is rundown period, or this is, pass down period or this is goal line or whatever it might be. And so those things are very important for coaching staffs to be connected on.
Yeah, no, I just think just when you were talking about like a defensive back not making a play on a ball or not putting him, he's always going to try and put himself in a good position, but not doing that, I just feel like diminishing returns start to happen when you're not fully doing your job.
Yeah, that's a battle that you fight is like, defensively.
You're not filling a gap as a linebacker is.
Well, like how important is that
fullback
in the coaching, like to parlay that into walkthrough time is still going to be a significant amount of time through camp. How much are you putting on that when you're looking at a guy, specifically looking at a guy who may or may not be, maybe he's the second or third linebacker or second or third O lineman. It's like, am I going to go with this? I know who my starting five are going to be. I know, but is this guy going to be a scout team player or is he going to be a solid backup for us? Is he going to be traveling? Like, how much of that time are we really paying attention to? Like, is that just like how quickly they're picking things up more so than the physical part of it? Is that what we're really concentrating on?
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking, like, I can speak from two perspectives, right? One is, a young guy that's just coming in, that's just showed up. For me, I'm looking for physical ability. Mm-hmm. Like, if he has a physical ability, then we're going to get him enough repetition and enough meeting time to mentally bring him up to speed. Right. Hopefully, right? Ideally, that would be the goal if he has the ability to contribute that early. Right. But then the flip side of that, like if it's a returner who you maybe have an inkling of his physical abilities already, he is demonstrating his knowledge of what's going on and how well he can do it.
So you're analyzing that by position, essentially, then.
By position, by individual. It's just like there are always guys that you expect to. There's always an expectation. There's always what you think of a guy coming into camp.
We know a smart guy versus a dumb guy, and like what we need to see from him for growth.
For growth, yeah.
Yeah, if anybody tells you that they don't have an opinion on a kid when they come into camp, they're just lying.
Right.
Like,
or just really, really bad.
Or that kid's in trouble because nobody knows him. I mean,
I mean, if you truly have a kid that's gone completely unnoticed, then it's it's a death sentence for him as far as his playing time. But yeah, I mean. At Drake, the roster is small enough, and at most Division I places in camp, especially because you have roster limits coming into camp, your roster is going to be small enough that you better know everyone in your position group. Sure. And then the challenge is, how many reps do you get those guys to allow them to demonstrate their abilities and their knowledge and stuff like that? And then when is the time that you make a move to kind of test their mettle? And because some guys will crumble. Some young guys, you put them in a situation, they will crumble. Other young guys, like, it doesn't faze them at all. Right. You put them in a new situation, you put them in with the ones, it's as if nothing's changed.
And some guys will just they'll just rise to the occasion. They're just literally gamers.
Yeah.
Where they suck at practice.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen as much I don't feel like at the Drake level as it does at some of the higher levels, just because most of the guys that have come to Drake, one, they have an appreciation for the game because you're playing at the level that we're playing at, but also more students of the game, I would say, in general.
Yeah.
But like you still have those guys that like they suck in practice, or like they're just not fully engaged in practice, and it's like, 2-minute drill, boom, down the field. Right?
And that pisses a coach off more than anything.
Right.
Unless they know that.
So there's a challenging balance to strike there, right? Because if a kid repeatedly sucks in practice, like,
it's hard.
They're not gonna be great necessarily in a game, especially at the college level, at any college level. Right. I think it's very challenging to say that if this kid's not giving effort or he's not fully engaged in practice, then why are we putting him on the field?
Right.
And that kind of, I think that somewhat sets the culture of your program to a point of 100%. Can this kid get away with this and be good enough on Saturdays? On Fridays, man, playing at Bettendorf, I don't know how much you guys know Tavian Banks, but he was still talked about, and he played in the early 90s when I was playing in the mid 2000s at Bettendorf. And there are stories that he just may or may not ever practice, may or may not even show up to practice. I don't know how true any of this is on a side note.
In high school?
At the high school level,
because he played at Iowa.
He played at Iowa and then played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, and so he's a very talented guy. I'm certain at Iowa he didn't get away with such things, you know. But there are stories of that, and then he still has, I think he still has a variety of records, at least at the school level. I don't know, maybe even at the state level. So there's that side of it where it's like, I think there at the high school level that may be more pertinent, where you can say, hey, look, this kid's really good, but and there's just no way I can't play him, you know, because you're playing, depending on the size of school and even the nature of just the culture of your team, you have to, you know, just to give your team even a reasonable chance to win a game, you have to put that kid in.
Do you remember playing with anyone specifically, not high school level, I'd move it to the college level, like at Drake, within your 4 years, whether it was your class or not, that was not a practice guy that you just knew, but you knew on Saturday he was going to show up and be the best player on the field, or something along those lines?
I think that at Drake it more happened because of injury than anything. Like guys were just, a lot of times guys were so beat up that you know, like there are guys that came in.
Well, some guys milk that as well.
But I think that worse.
Stoy's got a guy.
I'm gonna cry. Yes, I do.
I think that there are worse players from a performance perspective that milk that. You know what I mean? Like they think that they're better than they are, and so then and
everybody sees right through that.
I think so, yeah.
Right.
But I mean, like to name guys that are like your age, I can think like in the injury, from an injury perspective, that I can talk about, like Scotty P and Jacob Craig. Like I don't think those dudes were ever not in a red jersey once the season started, at least. You know, like, and they were phenomenal still on Saturdays.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't because they didn't want to practice. Jacob Craig would run by guys on the scout team and yell dead.
Right.
Like he would run by them and just say dead.
He was like the boogeyman.
Yeah. And then he really would like knock people out of games on Saturdays.
Correct.
Like, but he was just, because of his,
he couldn't afford not to be in a red jersey during practice for other people and for himself.
Correct. Yeah. Like it was
Scotty at some point.
What position did this guy play?
He played safety.
Okay.
And so, but he was a box guy. Like he was coming downhill to play the run.
I mean, think like, Bam in a football uniform.
He hit Josh Johnson, who was in the NFL for a very long time.
100%.
You just
so Josh Johnson, he might still be in the NFL. He's been in there forever. Played for San Diego. Yep. And was quoted saying that little safety from Drake is the hardest hitting person I've ever.
The Jacob Craig highlight video, if it's still out there, is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen.
Like to give you some reference,
he's the one I told you wrestled the guys. I think I told that story on air. I don't remember if I did. He wrestled the guys in camp his freshman year he's a state champion wrestler. Yeah. Jacob Craig's that guy who was taking down starting defensive linemen, senior defensive linemen in practice and. Wrestling, like dominating them.
Where's he from?
Crazy.
Mount Vernon.
So to answer your question,
yes.
Okay,
I love him, but Benny Morrison, is that guy.
Diva.
He's that guy. His fifth year, I was backing him up and
probably backing him and Grovac up. Or no, Grovac was out that year, wasn't he?
No, it was the year before that. It was him and Kale. Gotcha. I was backing both of them up. Mm-hmm. And Mondays, light. Tuesdays, Benny would practice. Wednesdays, Benny had like chiropractic. I don't know, but I had to run ones and twos.
Treatment.
Thursday, he'd come in and do half reps.
Wait, do you have night class?
I don't know what it was.
All right.
I just know that Angie would always laugh and say, it's game day for you. So I would tape up more for Wednesdays, which, by the way, Wednesday is that was our hard.
The toughest day of practice.
That was the toughest day of practice. And run ones and twos because Benny was off doing diva stuff.
Benny.
And then he would show up and get a pick six and die because he, no oxygen.
Right.
But like that, Benny's my guy. That makes sense. That's the guy that, does dumb practice. I mean, he went halvesies all week and half reps, but.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Pat Cash was the same thing as like Scotty P and Jacob Craig, where it was like his knees were toast.
I mean, Willie
rolled around.
Willie always had like a back injury or something, but that's a guy that
you just knew you could
him and
depend
Pat
on.
just loved the game, and they were the worst looking best athletes you ever meet in your life.
To be fair, they're white running backs, so
yeah, but not only are they white, but they're like stout, so they're not cut running backs. They're not overly strong. They're not overly fast.
Especially Fat Pat.
They just have the
Fat Pat was the best at running
He was
back.
way
though.
better than Skinny Pat.
yeah. Fat Pat wasn't as fat as Fat Willie though.
No, but like at least Willie was a fullback.
Yeah, but Willie
blocked
had
more.
hips that do
Absolutely.
not lie.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he had like
Oh
5
my
touchdown
God.
tutties against Jayville or something
Unreal.
crazy.
Just that
reel was
dude
insane.
could do
was
it all.
Platteville, I think.
But it was
Shout out.
awesome.
Current
Current Coach Cashmore
Coach
actually.
Yeah.
Cashmore.
Coach Willie
well, both. I
Cashmore.
mean, there's 2 Coach Cashmore.
Yeah.
We should get him on the. We'll get him on the pod. We'll get both of them.
Yeah, for sure.
That'll be fun.
But,
To end the camp segment, do you miss camp?
oh, I miss the.
Yeah.
The camaraderie
correctly,
only,
please.
like, is what
Yes.
it comes down to. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't replace that at any level of.
Yeah.
How about you, Ryan? Wrestling, guys that just like going through the motions during wrestling moves practice, but if you throw them 1-on-1 against a guy, you know every time that guy's just gonna maul a dude. Does that happen?
Yes and no. So when you talk about a practice guy, this guy, it wasn't for a lack of effort. It wasn't for a lack of like putting in the work.
Mm-hmm.
He was just, I don't know what it was. He was horrendous in the practice room and ended up getting 4th at the national tournament.
That's kind of
That's insane.
It was insane. So
Especially for
talent.
wrestling.
it was,
Right.
and
'Cause I
this
feel like
guy,
that would be even more.
and
like,
you could
yeah,
ask
harder,
you
right?
could ask people from top to bottom, hey, was this guy a good practice room wrestler? And abso-freaking-lutely not.
Is it because he was bad technically?
No.
Okay, I'm
I
just curious.
honestly think maybe some of it in practice was like we got, and I tell this to guys all the time now coaching is I do not give 2 shits if you lose in practice.
Right.
Just let it fly.
Right.
Don't be reckless, but try stuff. If you get beat in practice, if you get put to your back, if you're trying, I don't care.
Right.
Nobody cares.
Yep.
Just try stuff. Put yourself into positions that, maybe you've been in that you felt uncomfortable. Put yourself there and figure out a way. And this guy would do that
But he
to a
wasn't
degree.
even, but he
to a
wasn't
degree.
even good at it.
But he wasn't. That's exactly what it was. But he was from Louisiana. He had like
Raging
the
Cajun.
strongest grip you'll ever. It's like the dude wrestled alligators growing up. Like he's a great dude. But yeah, he was a practice room guy. But injuries, just like you said, it's the not as great guys that kind of milk them.
Yeah.
We had an assistant coach who was a world's bronze medalist that came in one day, and I won't say the F word for this quote, but he did use it here.
Oh, this is different now.
Because one's from a movie and one nobody knows about.
It's a movie quote, yeah, right.
They're about to know.
So we were all we had to ride a marathon on the bikes, the Airdynes that day, as injuries. And this was right after. This was one of the first weeks I could ride a bike after having neck surgery. He's like, I'm going to make sure you mother effers never get hurt again or never want to be hurt again or something along those lines. And I'm like, wait a second. I didn't choose to have this.
I would rather
and
wrestle today, coach.
Now, there were some guys, though, that, hey, I got a twisted ankle. I got a boo-boo. And that's what we'd always talk about. Is it a boo-boo or is it an injury?
Right.
Can you
Are you
battle through
hurt
it?
or are you injured?
Everybody's dinged up at every single time of every point of the year. There's somebody dinged up.
We
Suck it up.
Our trainer called that, shout out Angie, Camp Blood. And she would do that.
Yeah.
You would have to do so much. It sucked being injured.
It's basically an
I-
hour and a
I
half of abs.
Always preferred to practice.
100%.
Yeah.
Always preferred to practice.
It was literally, you have X amount of time to bike 26.2 miles, or you have X amount of time to do 5
practice. I get rest.
We would do like a ladder of. We would do like a ladder
You
of
also get to do something you love to
Yes,
do.
not like
500
sit here and do
meters.
abs for 14 hours. It felt like.
500 meters on a rower, 5 ropes,
Right.
and like it was like 15 pull, whatever it was, X amount of pull-ups, and then 4, 3, 2, 1, back up.
All right, so camp.
terrible.
We would all do it again from camaraderie purposes, right?
Yeah. I
We
mean,
agree with
camp was easier probably on me than it was any of you guys from whether it be a wrestling or football perspective. Camp was much more of a mental
Physically, we
grind
had to do
of
stuff.
like, right. But just,
It
I
was
mean, just from a standpoint
It was
of
just about getting into a routine and being okay with the monotony
Yeah.
And like utilizing those outlets that you had for camaraderie and stuff like that. You know, like Coach Fox, our O-line coach, nicest guy in the world. And we used to meet in a classroom that had a projector that rolled down, and McVeigh and Mora thought it was going to be hysterical to draw a huge dick on the board behind the projector screen. So when he put the board up to draw stuff, there was just a giant penis, and the entire room lost it. You know, like
that is such a McVeigh Mora story.
It's moments like that make you
Like you still remember that 20 years later.
for sure.
Is there a level in college where it's like, okay, some of these new guys are coming in. It's going to be a shock to you. Let's see what you're made of type deal in camp days.
Is that called hazing? Is what you're trying to get at?
But like through a coaching standpoint.
I think he's just
I'm saying through a coaching standpoint, like, hey, here's our intensity, here's our expectations. Meet it, or you're not going to make it.
These days, I don't think as much anymore, but I could be wrong.
I think because most kids don't come from 2-a-days or 3-a-days.
Yeah.
In some instances, I think that this is we always used to call it taking the midnight train. There's always going to be one or two kids that just they check into the dorms and maybe come to the first day of practice and meetings or something like that, and then you don't see him again.
Right.
And nobody knows what happened to them because it's a freshman and nobody really knows him, or
But that's a mental checkout more than a physical. It's mentally more overwhelming.
Yeah,
than physically.
I think mentally and emotionally,
Yep.
as your freshman year, like it's very difficult without having a clear expectation of what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that's a very underrated piece of camp.
Everyone loses their girlfriend the first week. I mean, like we all watch out.
My coach,
if you were smart, you
my
lost
coach
her before
punched
you
another
got
coach in the
here.
face first week.
Come on now.
My coach punched another coach in the face first week. It was a shock.
Wait, do we give that recruiting advice?
What's that?
Hey, camp starts August 1st. Girlfriends stop August or
24th or
July 29th.
I would
just from a perspective.
I gave that advice to every single one of
I
my
appreciate
players as a coach, and then as a player, it was always fun to roast the freshmen that came in with girlfriends and just how quickly those relationships disintegrated. Like,
right, because we were so helpful as teammates in keeping them.
Yeah, no, not at all. We would we would monopolize their time as much as possible and keep them away from their girlfriends as much as possible as players. And then as coaches, it's just like it's another draw away from football. You know what I mean? It's another distraction. And so as coaches, it wasn't necessarily about that. It was just like, look, you've been in a place where you could spend essentially every waking moment with this girl, and you're very attached to her emotionally. And I get that because you spent so much time with her, but you're not going to spend time with her. You're away from her completely at this point in time. And so then what are you going to do?
Right.
You know, you're going to end that relationship 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
There's always the 1 or 2 that survive. Most often, I think what happens is guys end up circling back.
Right. Correct.
But
yes.
we
I know
stories
several
on that
that made it through. But I mean, those were people that were firmly committed going in. This wasn't summer fling.
Yeah.
Part 3, 4,
sure.
5, or 6.
For sure.
Although plenty of those out there.
Moving on. Real quick, because then we get to the finale. But anybody have any of their team NFL camp updates at all that you want to discuss?
Ryan Jensen got hurt for my.
Oh, you're gonna declare one?
Oh, I mean, I said last week that in my mind, the Bucs are the favorite to win the Super Bowl.
So you're declaring them for this year as your team, because you might just have a revolving bandwagon door. It's fine.
I guess like I can root for the Bucs this year. Yeah,
You can do that.
Jensen got hurt.
Jensen got hurt. That was big.
A few injuries here and there, but nothing.
We had a new D
that's been
tackle,
the biggest
Terry
one.
Achilles.
I mean, Irv Smith had thumb surgery.
Idiot.
Sky Moore looks good in Chiefs camp.
Real quick though,
what's his?
Mariota looks good.
No.
Apparently,
Drake London.
So does Drew Lock. So
Drake London. Yeah, no.
London.
Drake London's doing all right. Kyle Pitts, which clearly he's okay at football. Apparently he's unguardable, just untouchable. He has had 2 pass breakups, and both of those were AJ Terrell.
Oh, he's playing.
Which, by the way,
is he the best corner in football?
Correct. So
why you guys can be competitive this year?
I think we're going to be sneaky competitive.
Look at it. Look at it. Talking him into 4.5.
Don't
maybe
stop
5,
believing, man.
6.
Nope. I mean, that's not happening.
I got to go back and see Steve's
So
loss
here's the
for
real
Vikings here.
the real news is not even from Cowboys, but the other horse related NFL team, the Colts.
Yeah.
Today we're running killer drills,
Gassers, killers, lines,
line touchers,
whatever you want to.
which is
Down
going back to camp mode, not an NFL thing, by the way. A lot of ex-NFL player takes on this, like, what in the hell are they doing? Basically, non-punishment related. Maybe it was punishment related. That would be like the only time, because everybody on the team was taking part in this, including the ancient Matt Ryan, who apparently wasn't touching lines and was getting booed by fans while doing this. And Pat McAfee, this is where I saw it, is McAfee's obviously a Colts fan. He's an ex-Colt and cheers for him every year, but he's trying to figure out why the hell they got Matt Ryan running gassers, and he is pissed. And, as a former quarterback, I can appreciate that.
Right.
Because the last thing Matt Ryan is doing during a game is scrambling.
For that long?
Right.
Like
he should be running backwards if he's doing gassers.
Correct.
Let's put it that way.
Make him do his drops for gassers.
Right. So that was just a funny anecdote that I saw out there this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the idea of conditioning or playing yourself into shape in camp is a falsehood now. I think that's why you've been able to get rid of a lot of two-a-days and things like that, is because guys are not coming in having, like talking to Jeff Martin, the wide receivers coach. He's like, we might have bench pressed over the summer.
Right.
Like he's like, we might have ran a little bit, like jogged, but we weren't in like playing shape. Whereas so many strength and conditioning programs are designed for guys to be in peak physical condition that week. And the goal of camp is to prepare them as much as you can for football, while not taking away from that peak physical condition. There's a line that you try to walk between those two things, right?
Unless you're Leonard Fournette.
Well, so that's an example of a guy where it's like he's come into camp pretty out of shape, and so he's going to be working in a different way, independent of the team.
Right. The team shouldn't be punished because Leonard Fournette's fat.
Yeah, correct. And so you won't see that, like, and those guys will get incentivized in different ways to drop the weight or whatever it might be. And like Albert Hainsworth used to be one that used to always come in, and they would, when he played, they still had conditioning tests.
Right.
And they would have to
Exactly.
pass a conditioning test or whatever, and so before they could practice sometimes even. And so what a terrible way to go about it. Like it goes back to what we were talking about before. Like, some of those guys are just good enough that they're going to play. Like in season, you talk to NFL guys about what they do, and it's like, it's pretty minimal.
Right.
Like they're doing some physical stuff, but a lot of those guys that are, 10-year vets or just absolute standouts are not able to practice all the time, and they may practice only
to the detriment of the team if they are, a lot of times.
Sometimes it is because they aren't going to be able to contribute on Sundays then,
right.
Which is hard.
Or at least for the amount of reps they need to.
Yeah.
The physical reps just aren't as important when you get to that level and you've been in the league as long as you have. I mean, Aaron Rodgers last year is a perfect example of that. Is just like getting the mental reps, making sure that you're on the same page with, the walkthrough stuff, like the timing stuff.
Timing stuff, I think, at the NFL level comes throughout the offseason, and then
Correct.
during camp.
If you don't have it, you're not just going to magically get it.
It's going to be a long first part of the season.
So, that's where
we all can agree, though, like cutting preseason, the first game last year was pretty preseason-esque for most teams.
But they're all going to be.
Everyone's going to
be. Guys play.
Yeah, I mean, they're just not going to be in shape. That is a preseason game.
It's the line between having your team prepared and making sure everyone's healthy or in peak physical condition. And the pendulum has swung towards peak physical condition for a variety of reasons, right? Like CBA or Players Union and NFLPA and stuff like that are protecting those players at that level. And then at the NCAA level, there's a lot of data and research supporting guys' decisions to do that stuff, that to keep their players healthy and go in with a full stack or a full deck that way over the idea of more and more practice.
Well, and that's why so many of these guys, especially top-notch guys, have insurance policies now that they take out in college.
Absolutely.
And have paid off, like that we've seen. Like, I mean, Tua had one, and I don't know. I know we've had 2 or 3 other guys who have had insurance policies that have been paid out because they insured themselves because they would have not gotten paid millions of dollars
due to an injury
had they not had themselves protected. So
fun part, picks. Our top 4 for a college football playoff in the final 4 for the NFL. Are you boys ready for some fun? No?
I mean, I'm ready for fun, but I'm not ready.
Not ready for those?
I mean,
you got to be ready.
I'm going with my story today.
Yeah, that's a good call. Worked out last year.
Actually,
we all got 50-50.
I just figured I'd come in today. I thought Ryan had it made for me. If we're being honest.
Oh, we got schedules on schedules. If you really want to get into it,
I did just because I went kind of with.
You went with
teams.
chalk.
You went with paralysis. By
I
analysis.
don't have my 4.
do we have a lock
Okay, so
anybody?
Where are we starting? College
Everyone's gonna say Alabama.
I'm
gonna lead with
I
Georgia.
would
but
I would
whatever.
I would go vice versa, and I would say Georgia's my lock because Georgia has the worst schedule out of any top team.
By worst, he means easiest.
Yes, easiest schedule out of any top team.
Gotcha.
I mean,
They
I would
have-
like Georgia, but
3, 4, 5. I mean, 5 of their, the same as Alabama, 5 of their teams that they played had a below 500 record last year.
and Georgia
Nice.
and Alabama do not play each other.
They don't play each other. And of Georgia's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 of their next ones are their above 500 teams were 1 game away from.
The question
Not
will be
being
their
500.
defense, their defensive line, and losing 7 starters basically. That'll
But they
be
still got
Georgia.
they're
I mean, they're
player to look
stacked.
for
Let's
is
not-
still a defensive tackle. I
Let's
think.
not be crazy. They are stacked. I'm just saying.
Yeah, all
That's
these
gonna
teams
be
are
one
just
of-
reloading.
If I
It's gonna
remember
be
right,
interesting.
and I don't remember his name, but they probably have a top. He's probably top 7 pick as a defensive tackle. I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head.
I
now.
don't know.
Right.
It was the other ginormous.
But he's a
400 pounder.
But
who runs
realistically,
4.4s,
so
like,
so let's look at it. Georgia's toughest tests are game 1 against Oregon, who they're probably going to beat by.
It's so shitty.
21.
That game's in Atlanta.
They're going to beat them by 21, and then their
Neutral
next
site.
toughest
in the
game.
state capital, a few
I
few
mean,
miles away.
Kentucky probably outperformed expectations from last year, but Kentucky was a 10-win team.
Yeah. I
And
think
then-
they'll regress a little bit.
And
this year.
then maybe you can't even say. I want to say maybe South Carolina just because Spencer Rattler's hype train. Are they? I think they're going to be better than maybe 7-6, but
I mean, they'll have a quarterback.
exactly.
Hopefully.
Not what is it? Zeb.
Zeb Nolan,
Zeb
the
Nolan,
transferred GA from NDSU.
You
Exactly.
You mean Iowa State?
Iowa
And
NDSU
Florida.
by way of Iowa State,
Right.
or
Yeah.
Iowa
State by way of NDSU.
There you go.
Regardless, both.
And
Yeah.
Okay.
Anthony Richardson in Florida is there. Like other than that, I mean,
Florida,
Auburn's worse without Bo Nix. I think.
Florida has talent.
yeah.
They've got good recruiting class
The-
this year. I just don't think that does
But-
anything.
but, like,
you
you-
got to show me
like
something
just-
if
the
you're
hire
Florida.
of Billy Napier. I mean,
Right.
I
he's going
agree.
to do good things there,
He's going to be better than
and he's going to
Dan
have
Mullins.
to perform. I think Dan Mullen gets a bad rap.
I
on a
do,
side
but I
note,
think
like,
I think Napier is going to be better than him.
I am optimistic that Napier will improve over previous records. However, what Mullen did there was not bad, and I think that it goes back to a little bit of what we talked about last week with like expectations for coaches and how, like, what is the realistic cycle for this stuff? Like how
We've regressed so far from what it should be.
yeah.
It's
I mean, it's
crazy.
you're talking about with the portal and stuff like that. The expectation is essentially like 2 years you have a program flipped. It's turned into an NFL type model.
Yeah.
Which also stupid.
it speaks to the amount of money that's involved in it, which is where all of that comes from, because you basically have boosters and things like that that just make these decisions
pull that straight down
through
to
the
me, at
back
least.
door.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
So
I mean,
So is Georgia kind of a consensus lock between?
Georgia's in for me, without a doubt.
it's going to be hard for me because I have probably one that you guys are not going to
Okay,
pick
we'll
at
get to you.
all. So
Are Georgia in for you or not?
Um,
I
And if you could say
didn't
no,
realize
we
we
can
were
go on.
doing this, so I gotta.
You didn't read the Slack.
No, I didn't.
So I would say
when did that come through on Slack?
My problem is the
did, though.
schedule, because I think that there are 2 better SEC teams than Georgia.
Who are your 2 better SEC teams? Because I'm intrigued now.
I think Texas A&M.
Yeah, so that's my.
But the
I
problem
actually
is
have a future on
they
A&M.
play Alabama week 2.
But
And
to
so,
me,
like,
like
it's
that
a
loss
scheduling
doesn't
issue.
count against you.
Right,
you
but
know,
like only
if
one
you
of
lose.
them's going to make
yeah,
the
but
SEC
if
championship
A&M
against
loses
Georgia.
and Bama wins, A&M isn't, because Georgia's probably more than likely running the table here.
Yeah.
And then a one-loss A&M.
That's what I'm saying is I have 3 teams in my top 4, and so I've got to decide which one of those doesn't.
Do you have 3
Because
SECs?
do you think 3
Top
SEC
4, that's
teams?
tough.
Here's the question: do you think 3
Can't.
SEC teams?
Absolutely not.
They can't.
They can't.
I don't think the playoff committee would do that.
They just
Although
I don't think
unless their
I
hands
believe-
forced.
You can argue for it.
I believe that may be at the end of the year, we may be staring down the barrel of that should be of a 4-team playoff. That should be the.
But I'm just saying
3 of
that
the
like there's
teams.
going to be 2 other teams
I
that
don't know.
go
I
undefeated
think,
that you.
I think
can't
there's
keep
other
out.
teams from other conferences that you can argue in there. Huh?
I'm just saying there's going to be teams that are undefeated. I'm not saying they're going to be better.
Yeah, that's my
And
point.
that's going
Is
to be
like
the issue. Is
that,
there going to be
and that's the
Power
issue
5 teams that are
is-
undefeated that they're not going to
So
lose out.
is A&M, and I've seen a lot of A&M talk, and I actually like A&M too. Is that so? They've been hyped up for a couple years, I feel like, and they've just kind of underperformed maybe what they're supposed to.
Yeah, but those guys are like they haven't had a lot of guys, like they're not like Georgia this year, and that those guys have stayed.
Yeah.
So now they have the hype, allegedly,
Okay,
and
yeah.
the experience. Like
Yeah.
that's
So
what I
you're
see
talking. You're getting
with Steve
to
as well.
the end of the recruiting cycle or the end of the eligibility cycle for Jimbo's first couple classes now.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's where a lot of the hype comes from,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the belief comes from, because it's like they have been right on the precipice of it for the last couple years with younger guys. And so then what is this next? Can they take the next step?
They need to.
Yeah, they need to.
I mean, basically, is what it comes down to.
I mean,
Like,
that's
it's now
that's
or-
why Jimbo left Florida State, is because he
Correct.
felt like he could do more, and there are more resources at A&M than there are at Florida State and in the ACC, and so
Like I hate that game's week 2. I mean, I love it because it's.
I
It
think
is.
it's awesome that it's week 2. I think that like the idea that they're getting over the cupcake scheduling and the playoff
Oh,
has
wait.
sort of forced that.
Never mind.
sort
They
of
play
mentality.
at Texas week 2 and also host Texas A&M. Alabama does. Sorry, they play both. I read that wrong when I was looking at their.
Okay. And was
So,
it
I mean, that
last
game
year
is
that they
later in the
beat
season.
Alabama? Texas A&M?
Yeah,
Yep.
but they
Yeah.
had like 4 or 5 losses.
Correct. Yeah. So like I'm not saying that they were deserving last year. I'm just saying
Right.
that they have the capability. They've proven that they're one of the very few teams that have proven they have the capability to beat Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a ton of hype because of the Jimbo Saban rivalry, which is amazing.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like you talk about like title fights and stuff like that. Like that to me, from a college football coaching perspective, like there are not 2 more prominent names than those 2 guys in the thick of college football coaching. You know, the other guys that you would throw in there as, you know, recognizable names would be Kirby Smart at Georgia and Dabo at Clemson. But Dabo's like kind of this separate, you know,
with like competitive teams. Is that what you're saying?
just with
I mean,
like
Chip Kelly
names,
at LSU.
names that people know. Brian Kelly is at LSU.
sorry.
Chip Kelly's
Chip
at
Kelly's
UCLA.
at UCLA. Brian Kelly's at
but
LSU.
people recognize those names, but I think that their prominence in the sport is unmatched.
That's fair.
To me, you know, and I think that Jimbo only elevated himself by going to A&M in doing that. And so
Mike Leach's social media has put.
I'm a huge Mike Leach
So who's your lock?
homer. Like,
Who's your lock?
I'll lock. Man, we got to pick a lock.
We gotta pick a lock. I mean, it's 1 of 4.
Everybody's going with Georgia.
No,
No,
I am. Brian is. Cole's.
I'll pick Bama as a lock. I'll pick it.
I am solely because I think Georgia runs the table, and then even if they lose in the SEC championship, a 1-loss Georgia is better than a lot of these other teams.
So you're going Georgia or Bama?
He went Bama.
I know, but you
I
just
went
said
Bama.
so am I, and that confused the hell out of me.
I'll take Georgia for my lock.
All right.
I just don't think there's any way that they leave a Saban-led, as long as they have, even if they have 2 quality losses, I think that Bama's in based on reputation alone.
Which is stupid.
I don't disagree.
But I agree.
I could realistically see 3 SEC teams and Ohio State.
But that means a Big 12 has to have 1 loss, and so is ACC, right? If one of
have
those
to
are
have a
undefeated,
loss.
they're in, right?
The Big 12 beats up on each other.
I agree. I'm just
But
saying, though, if
they
one of
have
them
to
is
have a
undefeated,
loss.
they have to have a loss.
If they
for
run the
that
table in their
scenario.
conference, you can't leave them out.
Oh man, I want to.
In your scenario,
I know why you want to, but you.
in your
playoff committee.
scenario,
So here's the thing,
what would work
if-
was be A&M beating Bama, A&M losing to Georgia, and that would be the way to go because Bama would have 1 loss.
Yeah, they would
A&M
all have 1 loss, and then
Yeah, but I mean,
one of
or
them
even
would
Georgia
beat
might
the
not.
still
other.
getting left out.
But Bama,
Huh?
the only way that
team's still getting left
I'm
out.
saying there wouldn't be a 2-loss team.
Yeah, they have to play.
Who-
is the SEC?
who beats
is
Georgia?
there not an SEC championship anymore?
There is.
They lose
but
to,
I'm
like,
saying-
A&M and
championship
they lose
would
in
be
the-
to A&M in the SEC
but
championship.
then A&M runs the
Because
table.
Georgia doesn't
Because
play
they
them
don't play
until
each other.
and
Yes.
Bama's a
I gotcha.
1-loss team. Then they're all one.
they're
They're all
Georgia's
1-loss
a
teams.
one-loss.
That would be the only scenario
Yeah.
that
You leave. I
have
think
to
you
leave
leave.
Bama,
I think what they'd have to do is in that situation, and I don't want to say have to because I think
They
this
would
is
leave
where
out
your
the team
3-person
who's not in
argument
the
is
SEC.
the team
Because that
that's
would
not in the SEC
that would be your
Yeah, I don't know.
that would be your basically your playoff game.
because I think regardless it's
You
2
got a
SEC
chance.
teams,
All you had to do-
OSU, and then
Correct.
fight for the other
And
one.
you can argue the other side, but
You
the
could.
thing is if
Between
Ohio
Big 12 and
State,
ACC, and Notre Dame.
I mean, name 3 teams: if Notre Dame, Ohio State, and
Clemson or
Utah, Clemson, USC go undefeated. They're not leaving
No,
any of those
an
teams
undefeated
out
big-
undefeated.
Power 5 is
So,
no chance.
But
I
the problem with the
actually have-
Pac-12 is they beat up on themselves. The problem with the Big 12 is they beat up on themselves. There is no cream of the crop in
Oh,
those
I don't disagree.
conferences. The ACC, because
Sucks.
Clemson hasn't been as good, and so there's no prominent
that's-
team from that perspective. And so to me, if it's going to happen in a year, this would be the year for it to happen, you know? And who is, if you look at betting favorites, Oklahoma and Texas are the 2 betting favorites in the Big 12.
Baylor still is, and I think Baylor will have 4 losses.
Baylor is I think the 3rd or 4th in that group.
Yeah.
I think you're exactly right on that. But they're minus or plus 350, I think.
I'm not betting.
To
There's
win it.
no way I'm betting a Big 12 team to make the Final Four.
So then who is the other team that you're betting to be in?
USC
You think USC is going to run the table in that?
and the Pac-12
In the
with Lincoln
Pac-12.
Riley. He's going to take Oklahoma out west and do and play worse teams than what he played in the Big 12 and just run the table out there.
So
The only
this is
team
your
that has
central time zone bias coming out.
The only team that he has a chance to
Did you just say-
beat him is Utah. Out
You
there.
have USC in.
Yep.
he plays Notre Dame in his final game.
I don't care.
Marcus Freeman, the Fighting Freemans.
I don't even like Oklahoma, but I
I
just
mean,
don't.
he also plays a Fresno State team that came
To be
off
honest,
with
I
10
can't pick a
wins.
Big 12 either, so I get it.
he's going to have a better chance in the
I can't even
the
pick-
Pac-12 to win than he is in the Big 12.
I don't even want to pick an ACC. team.
So he's recruited some great players, and he stole some great players from his last place. I don't disagree with that. I think it's hard for me to jump on the train of a first-year head coach running the table in a conference he knows next to nothing about at this point in time. And so I think that's where, I think that he can do great things at SC. I think the Big Ten transition is going to be very intriguing. But I think that I don't see them running the table just because when he was at Oklahoma, he always got surprised by somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that's
So I think what's tough for me is, just like you mentioned, he brought in a ton of talent, but he's still got
He's got his
group of, he's
quarterback.
got a core group of talent that he still had that USC still had. They went 4-8 last year.
I can't. They lose to Stanford.
Like it's hard for me to say
don't
yes
see that.
to them.
I-
Although I
I
think they're, I
appreciate
think they
it.
might be the most improved team.
But this might be
in college football.
They may win the Pac-12.
Sorry,
They
I
might
should
be
have
a
saved
10
that.
win.
I didn't.
They might be
I
a
didn't
10-win
I didn't-
bombshell there.
Pac-12 champion.
I also think this year.
But
might
I think
be
that Utah is really good. I think that Oregon under Lanning is going to be sneaky good.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that hire for them. But I think that they still go out there and they beat up on themselves and they prevent themselves from running the table and being in the playoff.
Is it this year for you, Steve, a lot? Because you keep saying they beat up on each other. Is this a lot of like a prove it type year where there's so many teams that are just going to beat up on each other, prove it, and there's going to be a surprise, which is what I was alluding to. That way, like, there's only really 3 names at the top, maybe 4, but 3 of them are in the same conference. So is there a surprise coming?
I think that the surprise teams in the Pac-12, which
Not
wouldn't
even
really
Pac-12, I'm just saying
wouldn't even really be a surprise, would be Oregon and Utah. I think that people are not talking about them. I think everybody's talking about SC, and so I think that those 2 teams are sort of flying on the radar. Utah certainly flew
I
under
love
the
Utah.
radar
Don't get me wrong.
last year. I just don't know that when it comes down to it, like the talent level that the SEC possesses, I don't think that Utah, Oregon, USC compare to those players. And then when you pile on top of that the coaching and things that those guys receive at an elite level, I think that it's just going to be really hard to make it make sense for one of those teams to make the
so
play.
team 2. So Stoy, did you share your team 2?
T2's Bama. My third team's Ohio State.
Okay, and I've got
3.
USC and Georgia right now.
Yep.
Ryan,
I'm gonna go.
Wait, do I have 2 teams?
no.
I think
right now
my
you
second
have Bama.
my second
No,
team
you have
in
3 SEC
my second team in is Ohio State because I think CJ Stroud wins a Heisman this year. I think
he
he's
even
going to
wins
be unreal.
Even was a Heisman, which
be
is
awesome.
not on the record.
I think Bryce Young wins the Heisman.
Goes back to back.
Yeah, I like it.
Back to back. He shouldn't have won last year.
That's
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah, so
I don't know that anyone
That's the
should have really
problem right
won
there.
last
Which is
year.
why the defensive player should have won. Like
I
in a
mean-
year that no one wins it, give it to the defensive guy, please.
right.
Yeah.
But
But
I think
I think
So
that
that's why
Anderson
Caleb Williams
has
is
an
gonna win the
outside
Heisman?
shot to win the Heisman as well.
Who?
Will Anderson, the DN for
Ian for Bama.
Yeah,
Dude's a freak.
he is. He was just absolutely dominating in that national championship game, in a variety of games throughout the year. But yeah, so I mean, I guess like if we're playing this,
Yeah, he also wears the best number there is. So whatever.
if we're playing this from a gambling perspective,
It's
and
like a cape.
I want to get as
31
many
for
as
everybody.
possible, then I'm going to take the chance on the teams that I think are better. And I would take those 3 SEC teams, A&M, Bama, and Georgia, and then Ohio State. Those would be my 4. That's from a gambling perspective.
Steve, just go ahead and just fill out your. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, skip way to 4.
Well, I've already kind of given it away, so
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
just like
He's really just said it a few times. He just
I've-
didn't.
It's
on paper.
people have connected the dots.
The
You know,
dots, yeah, the
for
dots.
the
I
listeners
just
at
know if
home, if you're paying any attention at all, you knew that already.
So bet on the locks.
See, here's the thing: is
Can
like
you just bet on like the playoff 4?
we're pretty good about
I'm
talking
pretty sure you
ourselves.
can.
You look it up while you go.
Yeah.
We're pretty good at talking ourselves out of bets.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Ryan and I's conversation last night about the golf. So
Point blank.
Steve getting used to people being like, you being all in on something and then actually finalizing and going with it isn't something that
We're used
the
to.
listeners are used to.
No.
Oh,
So like,
gotcha.
I would have
Yeah.
had that conversation and then went with like
Notre Dame.
a
Just
Big
some
Ten
random
school
ass-
and Notre
yeah.
Dame, like
Absolutely.
Nebraska and Notre Dame.
Yeah, right?
And here we are.
Here we are. All right, so
So
your third in?
My third. I'm also going to go with Ohio State.
And
This is so boring.
it is boring,
College
but like
football.
who's going to challenge? We asked this earlier. Who's
Michigan.
challenging Ohio State besides like it's Michigan?
Mhm.
Yes, they have pieces missing, so that's their biggest challenge.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. That's
and Purdue.
Purdue.
I don't even know if they play them this
Yeah.
year. I'm just,
I mean, if
I
they
mean,
do,
with-
Does it
they're gonna
matter?
lose. Ohio State's good. That's the thing. They're going to lose one game to a terrible
Wisconsin's
team
got
because
it.
they
Or-
dominate everybody else.
Right.
Like
I think
no,
Wisconsin underplayed last year.
They have poor quarterback play.
But they have a really good running back this
Poor.
year, so their offense is going to be a little bit better. Hopefully, take some off of that quarterback.
I don't really care.
But then you
Like,
got-
when you say Wisconsin, you might as well say Iowa.
Yeah, and both those teams are boring as hell.
Yeah, so like on Ohio State, for example, I have 5
What?
games highlighted:
You're good.
Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Iowa. Just because for whatever reason they always play them tough. Except for it's in Columbus, so Iowa's going to get beat by 35, and then Michigan to end the year.
All their big games are at home.
Yeah.
So that's
except for Michigan State. So that'll be the game they lose.
Like, okay, so Penn State and Happy Valley.
Penn State's not.
But Penn State isn't the Penn State of old.
Not even the new. They're just not.
So,
Quick local news: they just offered the kid from Dowling,
Did they?
Jackson Smollett, quarterback from Dowling.
Who did?
Penn State.
Wow.
He's had really good summer camps and Elite 11 camp, and he was just at the Penn State camp.
Hasn't played.
No, ACL 2 years ago now.
2 years in a row, right?
State's still
Or no,
no.
he played as a
from the-
sophomore.
Yep.
And then he got it. He heard it in the Southeast
the
Polk
Capitals.
game.
Yeah,
to
heard it,
open
had
the
to sit
season.
out, heard it again, or like tweaked it, and then played through this. Then got hurt in the Southeast, which was like week 9
That's bad.
last
this
year.
one I actually.
Because
So
he was a junior
out.
last year. Yeah.
He was out all season, but then he came back and played against Southeast Polk in the playoff game.
Did he really?
Like 75%.
Okay. Ryan, can you get a third on the board, please?
So I'm going to jump. My third is going to be my sleeper pick.
So jump to your.
No. It's going to be my third sleeper pick.
They're all sleeper picks when they're coming from Ryan. Let's be honest.
Absolutely.
Wait,
You're just scrolling through a list of teams. What?
I know. I had to figure out where they started in
he
the top
wasn't
25
exactly
because
sure
if
if
somebody
Appalachian
starts
State was.
if somebody starts 25th,
Their
likelihood
full
of them
D1
making
or,
the top 4 is very, very
Pretty
unlikely.
slim, yeah.
Even if they run the table. So my team that's starting
Coastal
just
Carolina's
outside,
not doing it.
a team that's starting just outside the top 10 has a returning very good quarterback, Devin Leary, NC State, wins the ACC championship and makes a playoff.
I mean, if they win the
Wow.
if they win the ACC championship, that means the ACC is worse than
They were a
the
2-loss
MAC.
team last year.
That means the ACC is worse than the MAC.
Wow.
Okay, wow.
Give me MACtion over ACC champion this
For
year.
betting, absolutely.
There's only one person. There's only
football?
one team in the ACC that can make the playoff on name
Clemson.
alone. Correct,
Oh, on name alone, yes.
and that's
But
the
they're-
ACC right now.
But they have a
You
lot.
just said if one of these teams from another conference goes undefeated, they have to be in.
I know. I'm saying multiple teams from those. They're going to have to pick one of 2 or 3 over multiple. Like
Over a third SEC team.
because like a big like Ohio State's going to get
So-
in, or Michigan because their records like they're not going to have 2 losses.
The two teams that NC State really has to win in my eyes or beat this year in my eyes, they have to beat Clemson on October 1st, and then they have to beat Wake Forest on November 5th. Because Sam Hartman, I think, is a really, really good quarterback. Wake Forest had a good year last year. Now, I think they overperformed, but I also think that those are the 2 big teams that they have to win, and then UNC at the end of the year.
NC State. You thought USC was a stretch.
I did. My Lord.
So Steve's got 3 SEC teams in Ohio State.
Yep.
He gave Ryan
two
shit
have.
for being chalk, and then
Mine's
Ryan came back with the Wolfpack.
so far.
See, I
mine-
told
He
you.
immediately defied my chalk.
Like, no.
Said no.
I'm making a team
I'm
that
the
has
chalk
never
guy.
even sniffed
Yeah,
the
get
playoffs.
me out of here.
I like it.
Do you have a surprise pick for us? Storm?
Outside the box. I like it.
Or are you just going?
But if they
you going stock with?
they beat a 10-win Clemson, if they beat a 10-win Wake Forest,
No.
I have a
they run the
hard
table.
time believing there's going to be a ton of 10-win teams coming out of the ACC in general.
Thank you.
So I think that they're going to have to
run the table.
run the table. And I don't think that they don't have the ability to run the table. I think that the ACC is a massive toss-up this year.
Because I think
And
Florida
that's
State's
that's
gonna be
why
good this
I
year.
that's why I went with them, is because I don't think Clemson, arguably on paper, best defense for sure in the ACC, but their offense had a lot of lackluster play last year.
Sure.
Whereas
struggling to find
NC
number 4,
State
aren't you?
Well, I realized something in my brain.
was pretty darn consistent on
that
offense last year,
realizes that
and if
that's
they
the
get some
reason they can
defensive
never
play to
be
come
4.
along with it,
They
they
have to
beat
be
Clemson
2 or
last
3.
year, if I
And
remember
that's Notre
correctly.
Dame. If Notre Dame doesn't go undefeated,
they almost gave it
they're
away,
out.
I think, at the end.
100%.
But
And they play Ohio
So
they
they-
State
didn't
first game,
run the
so
ball well last year.
That
so they're
trigger,
gonna
and I
have
was
to
like,
run the
nah.
ball well.
Yes.
So no, I don't have a
this
4.
NC
Especially not
State,
with as competitive as SEC is going to
2021.
be. You have to be undefeated.
Correct. So now
To
I've
Steve's
got a
point, like I think you have to be undefeated
Yeah.
to not get overtaken by an SEC team this year.
I think that's every year, to be fair.
Right, but
Like,
I just think that specifically this year with your 3 out of 4, is that those 3 teams have the capability to be 1 or 2 loss teams. Whereas like A&M let people off the hook last year. They have 4 losses.
Yeah, for sure.
So like, but they could. I mean, the teams they lost to weren't the best teams in the country. They were teams they shouldn't have lost to.
Yeah, for sure.
So like, they have the ability to beat those teams and beat Alabama and put a lot of pressure on the committee, which I think that's what we both think that they will probably do this year. The question is,
that's like I just don't. I see a lot of parity in other conferences.
I don't disagree with that.
And so I think that that's where it starts to kind of fall apart. You know, where the argument of those other teams getting in starts to fall apart, and so it's hard for me to not see it. And then like again, processing it from a gambling perspective, I'm going to bet 4 teams to make the playoff. If I hit 3 of 4 of those, then it's a great day, right? Like you guys just said, you all went 2 for 4 last year. Right. And so if you bet 2 for 4, then you're probably losing money depending on the juice you get on that bet.
Especially on the teams that we're looking at.
Yeah, certainly.
It's not, I mean,
it's just proving my point.
If NC State hits, Ryan only has to hit 1 of 4. Let's be honest.
Yeah, for real.
NC State, they lost to Miami by 1.
They lost to Miami, though.
Which they shouldn't have.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And then they lost to Wake Forest, who was a good team, by 3 last year. They were 4 points away from
a dare justify your pick to me.
But they were 4 points away from a legit
this is stupid.
playoff shot.
Will be Wake Forest will be good again this year. Sam Hartman is back.
That's what I said. I did say that. So that's what I said. There's 2 wins that they have to have, and that for me are arguably probably their 2 justifiable losses, and that's Clemson and Wake Forest.
Who's your number 4, Ryan? I'm gonna go last because I can't pick one at this point.
I'm picking Alabama. 2 SEC teams are gonna make it.
Yeah, absolutely.
My thing is Alabama is, for Alabama's sake, 1, returning Bryce Young, and 2, returning from a season of which they didn't do what they set out to do every year, and that's win a national championship. So, like, I can't pick against them this year as much as I absolutely love Texas A&M. If I'm not picking 3 SEC teams, Alabama's going to get into me over Texas A&M.
And that's kind of where I landed. It was just like, I'll take A&M over the field.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like, I'll take A&M over
USC.
Yeah.
Correct.
What?
Correct.
Not a flawed pick.
So
or NC State, for that matter.
Correct. Although I do have futures on NC State to win the ACC. Right. Like, I like the NC State pick. I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have a future on Iowa State to win the Big 12.
So
I think that those conferences are that big of a toss-up.
NC State is a similar
better than they were
Texas
last year.
A&M thing for me, where they bring a lot of talent back because they don't have a lot of those guys getting a ton of looks, and that's why I like NC State.
They absolutely return a ton of people, and I think in a wide open ACC they've got an opportunity. But they're looking, as you did at the schedule, every single game was tight. You know what I mean?
Oh,
every single game was tight, and so
they got to run the ball better.
They have to
clock manage, and then their defense has to step up and get a few more stops.
Yeah, they have to do every single thing right, and those teams that are like on that razor thin margin, it's really, really hard for them to go undefeated. They may go 9-3 or 10-2 in the regular season, but it's really, really tough for them to absolutely run the table and win every single game.
Yeah, I mean, Coastal's
basically just stalling, waiting for Stoy to make his pick.
Coastal's strength of schedule isn't good enough.
My 4th pick is gonna be.
Can we align the picks that we have locks and stuff?
No, just the locks. I'll change them up. I'll line the rest of them, but we have locks.
Right.
It's got to be Clemson. I wanted Notre Dame, but I was talking to Cole about this. Notre Dame has to go undefeated to get in. They can't have a loss, and they play Ohio State.
Yeah.
Then you look over, and I don't think the committee will let 3 SEC teams in. That's solely that discretion. And so you have to look to the next powerful conference, and it's the ACC. Most powerful over Big 12 and Pac-12.
You just think Clemson's going to win the ACC,
and I just
with
think that
1 or 0 losses.
Correct, and I just think they're going to win the ACC. Because their defense came around and their quarterback play is going to be a lot better.
Dave Doran, Drake grad.
You're about to get
Wolfpack.
That was weird.
But if you like the demeanor of my voice,
Clemson Tiger.
I just don't like
Wolfpack.
I don't like it, but
Just call me Lee Corso Jr.
That's where we go.
Yeah.
It sucks.
I mean,
by the way, I hate a 14 playoff, so
I'll
hit that all year.
I also don't like this whole let's play the odds game. Let's play the odds game.
You don't like me?
He's the better.
Guys.
I mean, it's just
if
we have
3
Goodlock
of them
3 out
make
of
it,
4.
I'm gonna just drag dong all over you motherfuckers.
He did it. He did it. He did it.
Are you gonna goonlock it?
If NC State makes it,
we're
that
75%
counts as 2.
goonlock.
I'm gonna go.
I mean, if you bet NC State to make it, it would certainly count as 2, probably 3 or 4, honestly.
Parity.
They are. I actually have the futures pulled up here, and last
I couldn't find it. I only looked at
NC
DK
State
and
for
FanDuel.
NC State for
gonna look
national
awful, by
championship
the way.
odds is plus 15,000.
I mean, this
For a national championship, yeah.
I don't.
Deep
I will.
state for
I'm not
us.
picking them to win a national.
Yeah, no. We're just talking about making the playoff.
Well, fellas, we've
playoffs.
got some things are about to change in this.
What's happening?
I'm gonna go out. Let me just organize real quick. All right. So I don't want to push it, but I do want to push it. Ohio State is a
Gulag.
Bama is a
Gulag.
Georgia is a
Gulag.
which is bad because our record at Goonlocks is maybe 25%, and that's up on the high end without doing math. Yeah, like way up there.
Yeah.
And the only reason I say it is because we all went 50-50.
Maybe you had
we
some.
hit 2 on the CFB.
Did you have some
year.
early?
No, I'm just going based on
had some
this.
late.
Okay,
Yeah,
in
that's
your
fair.
in your honest opinion, your guys' honest opinion was, did Texas underperform that much last year that people are actually talking about them in the
People
college
talk
football
about
playoff,
them every year.
or is
Yeah.
it that the Big 12 is just a
People
kind of a
talk about
crapshoot?
them every year. There's no way Oklahoma. How's Oklahoma going to?
I'm not sure what you're
be in the
asking.
playoff this year.
Boys, we got to hurry
Like-
up. We still have an NFL.
Okay, let's just.
All right, so real quick, I mean, we've got shitty shots on the 4 teams we don't lock on,
All right, but that's clear. It's clear and evident, right?
right?
Yeah.
And also on the Virginia quarterback
And our locks.
winning the Heisman.
And our locks.
Who's the Virginia quarterback that's going to win the Heisman?
Pick one. It doesn't matter. You can have them all. It doesn't matter.
can
It's a
have them
Virginia
all.
quarterback.
No. This was this was the news of the day because if Oklahoma, the only way Oklahoma will win the Big 12, and if they get into the college football playoff, is if General Booty starts.
My Lord, you guys. They have a quarterback named
General
General
Booty.
Middle name Axel.
Middle name Axel.
General Axel Booty.
How
That is
redneck
tough.
do you think the parents
Also, how as your friends do you talk to that guy?
you
As
don't?
his friends?
You
Does
call
he
him,
not have friends?
You call him.
You call him GB? You call him Booty?
I have no.
You call him Booty, I think.
It's got to go by GB.
What was your
I go by
football
Booty.
nickname?
What's up, Booty?
Stoy.
Okay, first name.
Yeah.
I was always
Coaches
his
never
last
called me
name.
Hall.
I never had, but you never had a nickname. Flynn.
Yeah.
My freshman year
By
of
last
high
name.
school, I was baby fat because I was a freshman.
That's fine, but like that's a lot of words. Like that's
That's
not
it.
a nickname.
No, Stoy is that's all I've been known by.
Just Stoy.
Yeah. First name.
Because
Oh,
that's
by
because
the
your
way, in
last
every
names
sports.
are generic.
Yeah. By the
Now,
way,
you
in
have
all
two
sports.
generic names. What the hell they call you?
Dodo bird.
Well, this is about the most fitting nickname ever based off of my sheer size in high school. I got called Smalls a lot.
Okay,
Makes sense. Okay.
that's fair. So like,
Flynn
like
doesn't
that-
know this. I was 85 pounds and started free safety for some varsity.
Oh, we'll
My
get to
freshman
that, but
year.
it's bad.
That's unfortunate
I don't know
for
how to
your
say
team.
They call him chicken.
But it
wings.
was mainly for the fact that
All right.
I
Let's go.
just didn't care and would throw my body wherever I needed to.
I mean, let's get
Raked
through
it.
this. So
Yeah.
NFL Final Four.
Unimaginable.
Final Four.
NFL Final Four. Well, we know Cole or Steve has the Bucks,
That's true. That is
Yeah,
true.
I do.
so that's what I do with that.
I don't
like
even
it.
know. I don't even know.
So we're giving NFC team. Ryan, NFC team
NFC
to make
team?
Final Four.
The
NFC's the easiest side.
the Rams.
There's only like 3 good teams.
I know. That's why the NFC's really easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be the Rams. Like as far as like that's my first lock that comes to mind.
I'm going, but I can't. Rams.
Okay.
I just
AFC team.
that was a pure.
I'll go chalk on this and go with the Bills.
Okay.
I agree.
I also agree.
Chargers.
Chargers.
That's worse than my USC pick.
That's popping.
That coming out of that division is going to be rough.
Figuring out how to win a game in the playoffs.
I mean, I'm
let
probably going to take
alone
the
get
Bills
to
in
win
that
a
game,
game.
but I think the Chargers are the.
All right.
They're tough.
The second NFC.
It's going to be tough in that division.
second NFC.
Second NFC.
The thing is what sucks to look at is I think.
I mean, nobody in the NFC. I don't think that anyone in the NFC North or NFC East can win. So therefore, like I'm looking at the NFC West and the NFC South,
Which you only
It's
have
like-
one team in the South.
so therefore it's either the Bucks and or two teams from the NFC West
Or the Cardinals.
And like Kyler Murray
More Niners.
refuses to watch film. I don't trust a rookie, basically a rookie quarterback.
It would be
Give
the
me,
Niners.
give me the Bucks.
I know.
So you went Bucks Rams.
Yeah.
Like that's so boring.
Yeah.
As hell. But
Give me the Cowboys. They're going to be awesome.
I won't.
Wow. That was aggressive.
I know it's because
So was being a Cowboys fan.
and being sarcastic and
What's up? What you got?
disappointed.
Man. I also like Rams Bucks, but
That is a
I'm gonna go Rams Bucks.
Dang it. He said, but.
Yeah.
on the Rams. Number 1 of the NFL. That's good. And by good, I mean it could be our year.
You got
This
the
could-
Falcons.
This could be our year.
You got the Falcons in there.
Absolutely.
All right, you got the Falcons in there. You got the Panthers in there. Baker Mayfield. Let's go.
The only other team that I legitimately considered was the 49ers.
Yeah, but you can't.
But I can't bet on
Wow,
Trey Lance. Like,
Yeah, I'll
Trey
go
Lance
Bucks.
is not the answer.
I'll go Bucks. And
Sorry.
I want to pick somebody else other than them.
Who?
What?
Who?
Squad.
I think
you
I do.
embarrassed
I
to
do
talk?
like.
I like
do
the
fo-
Vikings.
I like the Vikings to win the
Is
North
their
and make the
defense
playoffs.
good enough? That's my question with the Vikings. If the Vikings had the Cowboys defense, I would pick the Vikings 100%.
They
I think
added.
their offense is
So
going to be
this
that
is
good this year.
this is why I have an asterisk next to them because they added a lot of defensive weapons. They added They added edge rushers. They added a bunch of defensive backs.
I thought he was going to go with it.
I mean,
to me, it's
they were one of 4 teams I considered.
one. I can't pick the Bucks because
I'm going. Yeah,
Let's
take
go.
It off.
we did it.
This is
Let's
exactly what
go.
we're talking
Come on,
about.
right
what
here.
did you just get talked
Do
into?
not leave me
Vikings
hanging.
over the
Vikings.
Bucks.
Do not leave me hanging.
Oh man.
Come on.
And
That was a bad high five. Let's go back.
I hope that for you.
I have to.
hope that. For
I
you.
have to actually take the Bucks out of the equation because it just makes me.
It's going to make me physically ill.
So I can't. They're
Oh,
not
you
on
want to
that-
get the Giants in there?
They're not on there. So to me, it's Eagles, Vikings.
Were you someone who liked the Eagles being sneaky good this year?
So you would take the
Or what-
Vikings to come out of the NFC North over the Packers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, I'm saying.
Do you want to
those
hear?
are-
Do you want to hear the
Eagles,
most
Vikings are
controversial?
My 2 teams.
You wanna
Yes,
hear one
I
of the
have
most
Vikings
controversial
over Packers.
quotes.
What's that?
One of the most controversial quotes we've had in recent times was, "I think the Packers have a better chance of getting third in the NFC North than they do first."
I could see how that's controversial.
Yeah, because it hurts your brain.
Against the grain.
You know what? Give me the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Fly them all. Come on, Philly fans.
It's going to be tough with a guy who
F
can't
you
throw
Bucks.
the ball.
It is going to be really tough, but
I like it.
that is
Doing
an
it in
easier
Baltimore.
route.
Yeah, that
Because
guy's
the
actually
East
better
is
at
not
throwing the ball than he gets credit for is the thing.
All right.
A little bit, but-
The stats on him
our
are
final pick for the AFC.
deceiving.
I think they set him up for success,
That's
and
right.
I think they'll do a better
Sets
job
himself up for success.
Final pick.
throwing wise.
Wait,
I'm
Those are
talking.
his legs.
Okay. Final
I'm talking
pick.
about throwing there.
I agree.
All right, I'll just be over here. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm looking up some stuff to see because this
Oh,
has influence
I'll
on my
go.
pick.
Colts, baby. Matty Ice.
Wow.
Taking 'em.
Wow.
Taking 'em.
Oh, I hate it.
Bass.
I don't hate it.
Taking him. He did it again. Wow, today's been a day. He's
Not
had
a-
like 2 or 3. He's had one.
Yeah.
One was a movie quote. That doesn't
At
count.
least Steve's was
My
passionate.
computer is going to die.
Hurry up,
I'm
Ryan.
glad it's on.
What do you mean? Why does it got to be me? You pick.
Because you already picked the Chargers, so we got to get one chalk pick out of you. What are you going to do? Take the Broncos?
No, absolutely not.
Probably should. It'd be funny.
He took the Chargers. Do you know how many? Here's how many NFC West teams.
I'm going to go Bills.
Or AFC West teams I would take over the Chargers. The rest of them.
I'm going to go Bills.
That's not a bad bet.
I think the Chargers will lose their division.
Good luck.
Can we shitty shot
the
that?
Bills. What?
The Chargers are going to lose their division.
Like, be last. Completely last. So,
They're going to lose to Mahomes. They're going to lose to Carr. And they're going to lose to Russell Wilson. Absolutely. They're going to be last in their division.
Because they cannot find a way to win a game.
Correct. As good as, and I like Herbert.
Yeah, Herbert's good.
They're just
I
not.
think
He's not
Staley's
going to beat
good.
those three
Eckler's
quarterbacks.
good. Keenan Allen's good.
He's the.
I don't think he's a bad pick, man. Stick to your
Hunter
guns.
Henry, correct?
Hunter
Am I still
Henry.
If he's
I don't know if
Oh,
he's still
Steve
on their
wants to
roster
pay
or not.
$5 for a shitty shot too.
Yeah, it does.
What do I want to do?
Not you want the Chargers to win?
No, I don't.
Who do you think's going to lose that division? The Broncos.
I would think that
It's the best division in football.
Oh,
would
yeah,
lose the
100%.
division. I mean, three of them
So are you
are
putting $5 on it? Or a shitty shot?
in the top 5 on odds for AFC Championship.
Gerald Everett.
Correct.
As they should be.
The
Gerald
FC
Everett
West is the
is their-
SEC of the NFL.
Who's not in the
Tight
3?
end.
The Raiders.
I don't like that. It doesn't make sense to me. I think the Raiders are better than the Broncos. I think Raiders finished 2. Chiefs, Raiders, Broncos, Chargers.
I'm having a really hard
can't
time
pick
picking
the Chiefs.
anyone besides the Chiefs.
I can't pick the Chiefs in the top 4
all right.
because their division is so damn
You might wanna
impossible.
pull this up on
Yeah.
the computer.
Taking Bills, Chiefs.
I think
I-
somebody from
Mine's
that
about to
division
die.
does.
Mine's blinking red.
Bengals is the only other thing that's
I have 9.
So you going Chiefs?
speaking to me besides Chiefs. I don't know.
You said Bengals?
Bengals the only other thing I mean they're
Bowl.
in
All right.
the Super Bowl last year
I
and
don't want to make the pick.
they
Talking shit
went
on
out
all
and
your
solidified
picks, but I
their
don't wanna
line,
do
which
that.
was
I'll talk
a
shit
big
about
Oh, I-
everybody else.
gaping issue that
I
they
don't-
had.
I don't disagree.
So that's the only other thing.
I just think that it's more competitive in the North with the
Wanna go
Ravens and
Dolphins?
Bengals this year than what it was last year.
maybe. I don't know.
Two AFC. Do it. You can do it. You can do it.
I don't
I
love what
I love
I know
your
that
pick
Marquise
because their
Brown is being
division is
touted as a
so
big get for them, but like
terrible.
So
or a big loss for
They're a
them.
Matt
The
Ryan
Ravens?
injury
Yeah,
from
I-
not
but
being
I don't-
I
Being
think
at the
it's
bottom of
less
that
of what
division,
people
I know.
think.
I know.
Yeah, but I just don't
They're not
He
as
doesn't get injured.
talented.
think they're
Yeah, but
going to
just
throw the
like,
ball
They're not as talented as any of
miraculously.
those AFC.
No,
West
that's fair.
teams.
No, they're not.
I'll just to deviate from the norm, I'll pick the Bengals as my final one.
Give me the Ravens. Chip on the shoulder, defensive-minded team with a
Wow.
dude that, I mean,
They can certainly control the clock.
yeah, Lamar
You know.
Jackson, that dude's just been crapped on his whole NFL career, and I don't want to root for the Ravens. That's just it's a stoy feeling.
Go with your gut, baby. This early, there's only certain things you can do.
How many of the Ravens running backs are back this year? Actually going to play?
I think Ray Rice might be coming back.
The dude guy is back. The guy from Ohio State.
He's
J.K.
fresh.
Dobbins?
Yeah, he's
He
supposed
is
to be
fresh.
healthy.
And Gus
Legs are
Edwards?
super
That's too
fresh.
depth.
I believe
super
Gus
fresh.
Edwards is back.
Arms might be a
I
little
mean,
tired.
they
He's
have
been
4.
swinging,
I mean,
but
J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards,
They'll go
Mike
out.
Davis, and Justice Hill. Those are 4
Who'd
good
you pick?
guys.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine at running back and at quarterback.
I was just
I
talking
went
mainly for
with,
their injuries. I think they're
my
I
guy
think they're
from last
good at
week,
running
Hendrick.
back.
Yeah, Dobbins will be back. He got hurt
he's
early
been,
last year.
Like
I'm pretty sure.
top 20 every event that he's played this year. He's just only played like 4 events.
That's also fair.
So I was like, oh, yeah, I'll go back.
All right.
And his odds are unbelievable to win. They're like 500.
Football game this week?
Jacksonville?
The Hall of Fame.
Versus
EDN and Lawrence are not playing.
Yes. Also, the 2 players that you would want to watch in the game are healthy scratches already.
well, of course they will be.
So, I won't be tuning in. Maybe some other people. I'm
It's
sure a lot of
Raiders,
people will.
Jags.
Yeah.
You guys gonna watch it? I might tune in. Just
I'm gonna
to
watch it. Yeah, I mean,
I mean, it's football. All right, it's first football game.
I'll be in Omaha, so
You guys want
I'll be in
to put a shitty shot on it?
No.
How about this? Over under 30 total points?
30? What's the actual
I'll take the
line?
over.
I have no clue.
No. This is the best. Don't look it up.
No, this is the
By
shitty
default, I would take the over, but I don't. I mean,
You said it, so you got to take the under.
shot. But no one. You said it.
You said it,
I say take the over.
That's
and you're the under guy, and you said it,
that's lame.
and we're 3-1.
That's lame. I don't like when there's.
Will we
four
give
of
it?
us.
Here's the real question. Stoy said it. Will we give him the hook at 30.5?
or would we push?
No,
Like
we won't.
30 and a half.
We
If
got to
it's
give him the
30,
hook.
he wins.
Since he
If
said it
it's
and is the only guy
31,
going-
we win.
Oh, if we give him, we would.
We're
just
gonna
give
him the
30
hook.
and a half.
Yep.
Um,
Are you willing to give him the hook? Since we all,
What is it? 48.
it's got to be 50.
No. Just yes, I would be willing to give him that.
I would as well. I was just curious
I'll take it.
if Steve is.
We don't
So
have a
that's
weekly thing.
Fine.
All right, 30 and a half it is.
What's it at?
30 and a half with money on the under.
I love it.
I love that. That's fun. Yeah, it is. I think.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I feel like we're gonna find a 17-14 game some way somehow. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
I mean, we got a few blown coverages in there, regardless of how bad the offensive was. Like
Yeah, Josh McDaniels, offensive mastermind.
right?
coming to
Nobody's
Las
trying to get
Vegas.
hurt. Like we're gonna get 17-14.
It's going to be awesome.
Great set by you though.
Right?
Yeah.
He knew.
I knew.
he cheated.
Actually, didn't even know that was. I didn't register the fact that it would be out. I didn't even know the game was this week. So
Stoy didn't think you could bet. Remember?
yeah, you can't
that's
bet
true.
yet.
You can't,
Can't bet yet.
No betting yet.
All right. As always,
Did we make? Are we making public golf picks? Or are we just doing those on our own?
we probably should. I mean,
I don't care
it's
if we-
football
we
season.
can-
We can do that on our own. We already have our shitty shot of the week.
Sounds good.
Yeah. As
I mean,
always,
there'll be a
everybody.
shitty shot on the line.
As
but-
always, everybody. Now that we're back into the swing of things for football, give us your polarizing picks. You guys got your playoff picks already for college football or for the NFL. Let us know. But until next time.
Wait, real quick disclaimer.
Oh.
If we have any camp injuries, can we that are significant to the teams we've picked? Do we have a re-pick available?
You get one breakfast ball. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm asking. That's all I'm asking.
So like
I mean,
golf
we
was
made
a
golf
golf
early,
reference
so that's what I'm
from
saying.
not
He
golf
pulled it
guy.
all
Not
the way
to-
down.
knock on-
Non-regular season injuries. Do we have the chance to make one
that's me.
adjustment for both college and NFL?
Like knock on wood, Josh
I don't
Allen.
want
And
anyone
there
to
goes.
get hurt. But
Knock on wood, Josh Allen. I'm not taking the Bills without Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald,
Yeah,
Josh Allen, Matt Stafford, Mahomes. Like I mean, these are
One breakfast ball.
For
For
a
each-
quarterback injury.
No, you have one breakfast ball for all 8 picks. Because it's
Total.
college and NFL. So you have to
And
choose.
you got to make it before week 1 of
So
each
you're
season.
saying if Bryce Young
I'm just
and
saying, like,
Josh
Not week
Allen
0,
both get
week
hurt,
1.
if Bryce Young and Josh Allen and whatever world where we both get hurt, you have to pick and choose who you'd want to take.
between one or the other. I'm taking the NFL guy every time over the college guy. Just
I know,
Right.
but you get one bar. You get one.
and at
one
college, that's just system playing.
Yeah.
plus the talent for the rest of the team.
Plus the
except
other
a lot of
talent.
Friends.
All right.
All right. Oh, as always,
As always, like, subscribe, follow, share. We're on all Spotify, all
Comments.
podcast.
come at us.
Come at us.
Quit
Absolutely.
being little bitches.
I mean, we made some picks that are a little outside of the box here.
Trojans.
Trojans, Aggies,
Wolfpack.
Wolfpack, baby.
Go Tigers.
That's a great.
The Chargers,
If I'd liked
the Vikings.
pack better.
Yeah. You had 2 big ones there.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I am. I'm a wild card, is what.
Or something.
Yeah,
You're a
he's something
wrestler.
else.
You're a wrestler.
All right, everybody. We appreciate you. Till next week. Thank you.
It's time.
The preceding program was sponsored by Black Mammoth. Any awards, rankings, or recognition by unaffiliated third parties or publications are in no way indicative of the advisor's future performance or any individual client's investment success. No award, ranking, or recognition should be construed as a current or past endorsement of Black Mammoth. Information regarding specific awards, rankings, or recognitions is available on the Black Mammoth website, www.blackmammoth.com. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. Investment strategies such as asset allocation, diversification, or rebalancing do not assure or guarantee better performance and cannot eliminate the risk of investment losses. There are no guarantees that a portfolio employing these or any other strategy will outperform a portfolio that does not engage in such strategies. This broadcast should not be construed by any client or prospective client as a solicitation to affect or attempt to affect transactions and securities, or the rendering of personalized investment advice due to various factors, including changing market conditions. The information discussed in this broadcast may no longer be reflective of current positions or recommendations. While information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, Black Mammoth do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. The tax and estate planning information discussed is general in nature and is provided for informational purposes only, and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Listeners should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding their specific legal or tax situation. Past performance is not indicative of future results.